Hello everyone, 𝗟𝗶𝗺𝗀𝘀 here. For those who are returning, welcome back to another video on my channel. And for those who are new here, welcome. A couple of days ago, I've gotten information from my sister about EA being bought out by another company, and I was quite shocked and surprised because I haven't heard any news of this until she brought it up. I didn't see it in my YouTube feed or on my Twitter or anything like that. So after she relayed this information to me, I searched it up on YouTube, and funnily enough, there was like other creators talking about it, what was going on. I've noticed very quickly that a lot of people were worried and were panicking. Like, I was a bit worried because I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was happening. And I was kind of surprised because considering how greedy EA is, and especially with The Sims 4 and how a lot of fans, a lot of players in the Sims 4 community, like, you know, the EA sympathizers are just willing to just give EA their money regardless of the quality of the game. EA and the Sims 4 team, like, I was surprised that they were going to be bought up by another company. Now, what was really shocking is that as I gained more information about this, the more worried and frustrated I became because EA is going to be bought out by, you know, investors like the Saudi Arabia, like the government, Jared Kushner, like Donald Trump's son-in-law, and a private equity firm, Silver Lake. When I tried looking into this information more and trying to learn what was going on, like I just became frustrated and just kind of just overall just unsure of like what was going on. And the Sims community, like they were like panicking, like rightfully so, most of them. And I wasn't sure if I was going to make a video on this or not, if I was going to comment it on it. But like the more I tried, the more I like sat with it and processed the information and watched more videos coming out about the situation, the more I became frustrated with how certain people, certain creators in the community were responding to the situation. So I wanted to make a video addressing the situation. I was going to try and finish making the 3DS video that I said that I was going to make last video. Still working on it, but I thought that I would just, you know, sit in front of my desk and just start recording and talking about my whole feelings on the situation, because I'm quite angry and upset. So yeah, I'll just be ranting and talking about the situation and my thoughts on it. Please do not attack, harass, or witch hunt anybody that I mention in this video. Please be polite. Please be respectful. Everybody's human, you know, so just be considerate. But yeah, I'll just get right on to the video and just talk about my feelings on everything. So, as I mentioned before, EA was bought out by, or at least not yet. It's not being, there's agreements, there's discussions being made about, EA being bought out, but EA hasn't been bought out yet. It hasn't been confirmed yet. But the entities interested in buying out EA is, Saudi Arabia, like their government, their public investment firm, Jared Kushner, you know, Donald Trump's son-in-law, and Silver Lake, well, the private equity. Sorry if I just seem a little bit like all over the place and like jumpy, because, you know, I'm just learning the situation at the same time that most of you guys are, so I'm kind of all disorganized and everything. I just want to get this off my chest. I really shouldn't have to explain to most of you guys why this is concerning, but especially if most of you guys have already watched previous videos on the matter. But I'll just explain it anyway, right? So the government of Saudi Arabia is a truly authoritarian government. The government just oppresses LGBTQ people, and women's rights activists. They imprison them, they execute them, especially like journalists, you know, like truly heinous civil rights violations. Like, if you go online or if you've watched other videos on YouTube talking about the situation and speaking out against this government, like there are like examples of that people are giving of like showing how brutal the Saudi Arabian government is. And with Jared Kushner, you know, being Donald Trump's son-in-law, like he's part of the Trump family. Like I shouldn't have to explain why that's bad. Like why these, like, this family having access to like this all inclusive like game and like diverse game, like I really shouldn't have to explain to y'all why that's bad, you know. But for those who don't also understand, who still doesn't understand, like the our current president is nothing but a dictator. He is a racist, fascist dictator. He's not. He just abuses his power. Like, it hasn't even been like a year. Like, the year hasn't even fully concluded, and he has done nothing but endorse and encourage like acts of violence, laws to like that does nothing but hurt the people living in this country. With the whole ice raids going on in California, um, and with the big beautiful bill, with him and his followers and the Republicans, how that pretty much fucks up everybody. At least I've watched a video saying that most of these fuck ups won't happen until after he's out of office, which is just, I don't know. I would put the video up if I can still find it, um but yeah, that's what I've heard online. I don't know how true that is. I just really am upset that that bill even got passed, or that law even got passed. Like, but anyway, yeah, that rightfully so. Everybody in the Sims community is panicking, and people are calling for boycotts. People are questioning whether or not they should still continue supporting the game. From the smaller Sims creators that I follow, like some of them are just relaying the information, and stuff like that. But from one creator that I follow, I've been incredibly disappointed in the way that she decided to like go about speaking up against, quote unquote, against this whole situation. And as I was watching more videos, like, because I was watching specifically not Malcolm's videos, and there were more creators who were pretty much, quote unquote, siding with the LGBTQ plus community, quote unquote, like siding, but actually go right back to like promoting the game and not really like standing in solidarity, standing with us and, actually doing what they preach. So I'm just like so angry and like so frustrated, and brain don't work because I just have so many thoughts. But there's just been a handful of creators in the community who, when the LGBTQ plus community needs them to like, for them to like, show them some support, they're not exactly showing that support. And one of the creators that I'm talking about that I specifically follow, that I've mentioned before, is like 𝗟𝗶𝗺𝗀𝘀. Like, I haven't watched her videos in a bit, but when I was into like The Sims 4 and that hyperfixation, I was watching a lot of her videos. I watched a lot of her content, and I saw the community post, and then I also saw the video that she posted, and I couldn't help but feel, I mean, I couldn't process my feelings on the video when I first watched it, but like as I kind of like sat through it and then also watched, not Malcolm's video talking about the same thing, it really like put into words like the feelings that I was feeling at that time. Like, she pretty much, like, 𝗟𝗶𝗺𝗀𝘀 pretty much said that she wasn't sure about what she was going to do, like whether or not she was going to continue playing The Sims. Like, yeah, a lot of this is still uncertain. Not everything is like still set in stone, but like it should have been pretty clear about what you should be doing, what, like, at this moment of time. Like, you shouldn't continue supporting The Sims 4. Like, you shouldn't have been promoting it, like, at all. You shouldn't have been putting all of your eggs in one basket and only doing Sims content and just becoming just a puppet for EA. Like, that moment in time where the announcement got announced, that should have been the time where you could have said, I'm going to, not support the Sims in content until, or and such until, you know, we get more information. And even if there's like the likelihood that the deal doesn't go through, I mean, there's still a lot of good reasons as to why people should be boycotting The Sims and why they shouldn't be supporting The Sims. Like, already, the Public Investment Fund for Saudi Arabia already owns 10% of, like, EA. Like, and that already enough should have been worrying, because, like, when that information came out, whatever Sims merchandise or Sims content that y'all buy, a portion of that is going into the hands of a government who does nothing but suppress their citizens if they don't fall in line. Like, I don't understand why this is such a moral dilemma when the answer is pretty clear. And it wasn't just Little Simsy who kind of gave this sort of like, oh, I'm worried, I don't know what to do. It was other Sims creators in the space, all of them Sims partners. Like I said in the other video discussing about EA and how upset and their like horrible business practices and their gritty business practices, like, not all of the partners are kind of just two-faced and insincere. Like, some of them actually stand on business and give their honest opinion and won't try to, like, you know, say one thing but don't really do what they preach. But the Sims creators who do nothing but just, like, you know, fall short, keep dropping the ball, aren't exactly, you know, doing what they preach. It's the same creators who are doing the same bullshit. And then not even like a day later, like the same day she posted that video, right, Little Simsy, she posts a video promoting the latest pack. Like, girl, you couldn't fucking wait like a day, couple days, heck, maybe even a week or two. No, you go right back to promoting The Sims 4. And I'm like, if you were an ally, why would you immediately go back to posting content supporting a game that's made by a company that's greedy as fuck, given all of the information that's coming out now? Like, it just sounds so disingenuous. And I, like, it wasn't even 30 minutes later, like I saw a comment said. Like, she posted it, like, 30 minutes later. Like, why? Why? Like, is it so hard to just put down the game for, like, a couple days and play a different game? Like, is it so hard? Yes, like, I understand that this is some of these partners' livelihoods, right? But you gotta understand the amount of privilege y'all have. You get the game packs for free. You don't have to pay a single dime. You don't have to work so many hours just to save up for these packs. And yes, I understand that it's your livelihood, but y'all creators have, like, a large audience. I'm sure that whatever new game that you guys decide to play, or new, like, content that you guys decide to do, like maybe crafting or vlogging or whatever, you built up a loyal fan base. I'm sure, like, a lot of people would be willing to watch your content regardless of what you do, you know, because, you know, they like you. They like the personalities that you guys give off to them. So I really feel like now is the time for them to just not put everything in one, not put all their eggs in one basket, and just start diversifying their content, you know? Besides, there are other Sims games out there that y'all can play. You know, there's The Sims 1, there's The Sims 2, there's The Sims 3, there's the whole My Sims franchise. You know, you can go and get yourself a Wii, or get yourself an emulator, find yourself a copy of the game somewhere, whether you're buying it secondhand or getting it through other means. Like, Like, there are other Sims games that you can try that you can mess around with. Now, I still wouldn't recommend getting the Cozy Bundle because it was a poor ass port. I'll tell you, you're better off just getting the Wii and playing on that. So, I just don't understand why it's so hard for them to just stand up for the LGBTQ plus community when we need them to do it the most. And it's not just me that feels this way. Another creator that I mentioned before, like Not Malcolm, or I've already mentioned it in his video. I'll play the clip.
In the last few days, some Sims content creators have come out and made statements essentially just saying, I'm worried. Sims YouTubers Carrie and Connie, who have over 1 million subs, came out with a statement that said, this sucks, and that they're nervous moving forward. Another Sims content creator, 𝗟𝗶𝗺𝗀𝘀, posted this short message, part of which read, I'm really disappointed to see that EA is being sold, and to whom? Sad face. I think it's very valid to have concerns about it all. Fun fact, she has since deleted this statement. I mean, to be real, what even was this statement, 𝗟𝗟𝗀𝗀𝗀? It's like she went to ChatGPT and told it to say nothing using as many words as possible. Maybe that's why she deleted it, or maybe she just doesn't care. And finally, 𝗟𝗚simzy released a statement and actually made a whole video about the EA buyout. Here's part of what she said.
EA just announced a deal to sell to private investors, and these private investors are, to put it bluntly, really bad. It's horrible. And this also raises the moral dilemma of, do we want to continue playing and supporting a game that is owned by such awful people? This is where I have been really struggling. The Sims is my entire life. It's my livelihood, it's my hobby, it's my name. My last name is Sims. But where does this leave me? I don't know. I am going to keep playing The Sims. I'm gonna keep talking bad about The Sims and about EA when I need to. But again, this is my job, so it puts me in a really tough spot. I hate the idea of supporting them. Like, that just horrifies me.
But out of everyone that I expected to take a stand and not just speak words, but actually take action, in my naivety, perhaps, I kinda thought she would be the one. Because how can someone who has spoken so passionately about trans rights, for instance, who has fundraised in support of trans causes.
So basically, today we're gonna be live raising money for the National Center for Transgender Equality.
How can she sit here and say, I don't know what I'm gonna do?
And then another creator called 𝗟𝗶𝗺𝗀𝗀𝘀 also talked about like how other creators weren't, you know, being sincere in their statements and actually, you know, supporting the LGBTQ plus community.
I understand that the Sims team does not control what Electronic Arts as a company does, but that really doesn't matter. Even if they don't change anything about the current representation that we have in the game, the ability to make trans people, the ability to have gay and lesbian couples, the ability to have gay and lesbian parents, even if they don't touch any of that, simply by it being owned by that investment company, we are directly lining the pockets of a government that is actively oppressing our community. I'm very baffled at the amount of people who claim allyship, but in the face of injustice, they're going to shrug their shoulders because I guess EA is the reason why you're earning a paycheck. I've also seen a lot of apologists in the community saying, well, I'm still going to play my favorite game because, you know, equality is important, but when it comes to my favorite video game, I'm just gonna turn a blind eye. I think it's disgusting. I think it is abhorrent. If you are still going to support this game financially, if you're still going to drop your EA creator code for people to put in at checkout at the end of your videos, you are the problem. You are part of the problem. 𝗧𝗶𝗺𝗀𝘀 had a video that he put out and he said that The Sims 4 is actually banned in Saudi Arabia, but that doesn't matter. They can still touch it at any point because now they own it. So the thought of another company buying out The Sims 4 is a complete fantasy. It's a complete farce. It's not rooted in reality at all. All that we know as of right now is that it is going to be owned by a government who would happily see you be in jail or worse. So I don't understand what we're talking about here. You would think that these people that love the LGBTQ community as much as they claim they do, you really think that this would be the time for them to show up and show out. But it really just feels like they're saying, oh man, that sucks. I really don't like that. Don't forget to use my creator code at checkout.
And it sucks it really does suck seeing that this is the behavior that these creators are displaying, and I just couldn't just help but feel frustrated. Like, I was already frustrated in the Sims 4 community simply because of all the toxic positivity and whatnot going on. But if I wasn't really frustrated before, I'm definitely frustrated now, especially considering, how important, human rights and civil rights is. And even though it's not been, like, the final decision hasn't been made yet, if we don't make enough of an uproar, enough of a backlash, we're just going to allow this to happen. and it sucks. Because when Hogwarts Legacy came out, there was a lot of backlash simply because of, Harry Potter and, with J.K. Rowling, and everybody was arguing. When I watched Not Malcolm's video, he mentioned that people from the Sims community was actively calling for a boycott for people not to buy the game, and if people bought the game, they're gonna judge them, and this, that, and the third.
When it comes to this buyout, right and wrong is clear as day. It's actually hilarious because I remember a couple years ago when Hogwarts Legacy came out, so many people, so many content creators in the Sims community were saying, we have to boycott this game because of J.K. Rowling. Even though the developers of Hogwarts Legacy came out and said, we value trans people, they literally hired a trans actor to play a trans character in the game, but because a percentage of the sale maybe went to J.K. Rowling, she could have gotten a flat fee for all we know, I don't know. But because J.K. Rowling maybe could have used a fraction of the Hogwarts Legacy sales to donate to anti-trans causes, the Sims community said let's boycott. A popular creator, 𝗧𝗶𝗺𝗀𝘀, made this tweet saying she's side-eyeing anyone playing Hogwarts Legacy, and apparently 𝗏𝗏𝐶𝗧𝗍 herself said she didn't support this game. So where in the hell is that same energy right now? Where's all that passion and that rallying against the big bad guy today? The Saudi government is doing way worse than J.K. Rowling has ever done. That is a fact. We have a TERF who is in all other areas quite progressive on one hand, and literal murderers on the other. Hello? Right now they own 10% of this company, so a percentage is already going to support that. Where has the outrage been all this time? And where is your outrage in the fact that in a few months, nearly all of your money that you give this company will be going to that? It's not a matter of, well, an authoritarian regime that engages in human rights abuses could be getting some of my money. It does currently, and it will get more in the future. You're not Hannah Montana. You do not get the best of both worlds. You do not get to say, Harry Potter game, J.K. Rowling so bad, but Sims game, Saudi government so good. There is no middle ground. And there is no, let's wait to see what happens. There's a lot of discussion in the Sims community right now about what's the right thing to do. Why is that even a question? It baffles me how people who profess to care so much about inclusion and diversity and sunshine and rainbows and we love everyone can continue supporting this game and this company. It is spineless. I cannot stand this whole, oh, I'm an ally. I care about you guys. I'm worried about this deal. Jared Kushner. What are we gonna do? I have an idea. Stop promoting the damn game, bro. Stop buying it. Put your money where your mouth is. It's hard to be an ethical consumer in this day and age. If you take a look at everything you purchased in the last 30 days, some of the businesses you bought things from have probably donated to causes you don't support or you don't agree with, or have investments with unsavory entities. But this situation is clear as day. It's not like, oh, maybe 1% of the sale of this item I'm buying is going to this company I don't like. No, this is 100%. This is everything.
And I understand because like I mentioned in my previous video when I ranted about, the problems that I've been having in the witchcraft community. And I've stated, the different nuances in that situation, especially because, when we were children, we don't, especially, with older parents, they didn't, bother researching that much, and we as children never had access to the internet, and some people are just maybe not aware of the things that J.K. Rowling was doing, like how I've described how like I wasn't aware of the things that J.K. Rowling was doing, and then eventually, like the more time I spent on the internet, more information I gained, I came to realize how bad of a person J.K. Rowling was, and in that situation, I really learned how incredibly dangerous J.K. Rowling is, and in that situation, especially considering that it seems like another like companies or like seem to own another part of like seem to own some of Harry Potter, and there's arguments about whether or not J.K. Rowling really owns the franchise anymore, and it's like a whole thing. If you're interested in my full thoughts on it, you can, and if you don't have, and if you're not worried about time wasting, you can watch the video that I mentioned about when I was talking about the witchcraft community and everything, because I already stated all my thoughts there, and and everything, but in this situation, now that all of us are adults now, and all of us have access to the internet, and this information has come out, right, that Saudi Arabia already owned 10% of EA, and that now they're thinking of buying EA, of like owning more of EA. It shouldn't be a question whether or not to support this. It shouldn't be a question whether or not to support The Sims 4, because it's clear as day. Like, it's not like this information was just hidden for years, and stuff like that. It's just clear. There's no moral dilemma. There's no nuance. There's no whatchamacallit. Like, this government wants to own more of EA. And if this acquisition goes through, like, I mean, already when you guys purchase, like, stuff from the Sims franchise, like, some of that money is already going towards that government. But if it goes through, even more of y'all's money is going to go towards that government. And that government is going to use that money to continue to oppress its citizens. And I really don't feel like that should be a question, because EA, because like it's not like EA is owned by one singular person now. There are multiple people who have stocks in it, who have own portions of it, and with Saudi already own 10% of it, like, I can understand, not being aware, because most of us weren't even aware before this information came out. So, I can excuse, still supporting it, even though some of our money was still going to the government, I mean, whether or not you would still continue to support The Sims 4 after knowing this information, if you guys, like, that's up to, the individual. And I was already not supporting EA, for reasons that I already explained in my previous video when I was complaining about them. So, if I known that information along with that, that would have been another reason that I would have stated in my video as to why I wouldn't be supporting EA. But now that all of this information has come out, right, and now Saudi Arabia wants to own more of it, like, I feel like there shouldn't be any question as to why you shouldn't be supporting this or waiting and seeing to, I feel like now is a good time to raise hell and to boycott and to, speak out against this. And, it's just, I'm just like so... I'm just so disorganized in my thoughts, but like, just knowing how hesitant these creators are when it comes to truly speaking out, especially with Little Simsy, because I'm still subscribed to her, I just made the decision that I'm not going to continue supporting Little 𝗧𝗶𝗺𝗀𝘀 or engaging or even watching your content anymore in the future. I remember Little 𝗧𝗶𝗺𝗀𝘀 mentioning in the video addressing the situation that she posted that she will continue to criticize EA when she needs to. And I was like, huh? Like, what do you mean you'll criticize EA when you need to? Because, like, when you criticize EA, I've seen people mention that you just self-censor yourself. And it's most of the time of the videos that I've been seeing, it's just you promoting the game and the packs. Like, what do you mean? Most of the time that you've been doing is promoting The Sims 4 and EA. You've been involved with one of their packs. Like, come on. Like, it wouldn't hurt you to just put the game down for like a couple days or weeks. You know, continue to speak out against what's going on and not immediately go back to Sims 4 promotional material. Like, come on. And, you know, like, especially as somebody who has donated to LGBTQ+, you know, charities and stuff like that, it just really feels disheartening, and it's just really frustrating, you know, because even before I came out as 𝗟𝗶𝗀𝘀𝘀, you know, in the last video talking about, well, not the last video, but like in the previous video I was talking about my problems within the witchcraft communities, and I came out as 𝗟𝗶𝗀𝘀𝘀𝘀. Like, even before I identified myself like that, I value human rights. Like, I am of the opinion that, you know, LGBTQ+, you know, your sexuality, your gender preference, and your pronouns, you know, like, that's basic human rights, and it also needs to be, you know, normalized, because the problem in some spaces is that people just make that their whole personality and stuff like that, and then they start becoming very polarized, and they start going after people, and they just don't bother to, like, really be patient with people who probably are still learning, or is probably not understanding. Like, it's just, I just feel like that, you know, we should be normalizing it instead of, like, making it her personalities and stuff like that. And, you know, when I came out as 𝗟𝗶𝗀𝘀𝘀𝘀𝘀, I kind of just left it as is, and I just continued on with my life, because it should be just a normal thing. I didn't, like, make a huge big deal about it. I mentioned it once on my channel, and then that was it. And even, you know, though I haven't been in the LGBTQ+ community for long, whether I saw myself as straight, or even if I saw myself as 𝗟𝗀𝗀𝘀𝘀𝘀𝘀𝘀, I still value human rights. And the fact that she kind of just said oh, I'm worried, I don't know what to do, and then kind of just disregarded it, like, immediately, just not really put too much emphasis or care into how serious the situation is, it leaves a sour taste in my mouth, and it just makes me frustrated. Because is it really that hard for her to, you know, really be the main voice of this uproar, this, you know, boycott, to, like, really push back against what's going on with EA and The Sims 4? And it's the same sentiment that I have with these other creators that have done the same thing. Like, y'all are not for the LGBTQ+ community. I don't care how much you want to argue otherwise, because if you were for the LGBTQ+ community, you would not have made the actions that you have made. You would not be going right back to promoting The Sims 4. You would not just saying that to get brownie points and then moving on. Like, that's not that's not how this works. You can't just say just to, you know, just for brownie points, and then just move on with your day. Like, this is a serious issue that needs to be addressed, and how careless that some of y'all creators have been in handling this, and especially the silence between other creators who haven't exactly said anything, and they're big creators and they haven't said not a peep from them. It's like, y'all are not for the LGBTQ plus community. You guys are toxic people. Like, and you guys say that you guys are for the cause, but you guys don't really do the actions to back up your statements. And this is a time where we need y'all to speak up, and you're not doing that. I don't care how much you want to say it, because your actions speak louder than words, and your actions are not for the LGBTQ plus community, and I'm tired. I haven't followed much of these other big creators. I think there was one other person that I follow, but I think I followed them because I used to watch their Minecraft videos, but they don't do that anymore. So if they haven't made a statement yet, I'll probably will unfollow them too. But Little Simsy, I have to say sorry, because I cannot continue to support you if this is how you're going to handle speaking out against the potential acquisition that will be taking place. And a lot of Little Simsy's fans, right, they're defending her. But, like, y'all need to understand that she is not God. She's not some small, fragile being. You know, she's making lots of money, doing, like, making Sims 4 videos and stuff like that. Like, and plus she has a big following. I'm sure that if she changed her content to something else, and, you know, and it's a game that she's enjoyed, but, because let's be real, there's no point in playing a game if you're not enjoying it, because your audience will notice that you're not having fun. So, but, like, if she just does something different that she enjoys, that she, you know, and she posts that content on YouTube, like, I'm sure there's a large portion of her audience that will enjoy those videos as well, and will stick around for those videos, you know? And this is what happens when people just place their, these influencers up on the pedestal. Like, they're not these untouchable beings. They're not these fragile beings. They're humans, and they have to be held accountable for the actions that they take. And it's just annoying to see, like, these people go and attack other creators that are speaking out against them, saying that, oh, they're just haters. Or speaking out against, like, the Saudi Arabia potentially acquiring EA, saying, oh, you must be racist and everything and whatnot and so forth, because, yeah, it is just stupid. Like, the mental gymnastics that people have to go through. Like, why are you putting, oh, you must be racist, you must be anti-Muslim, whatever. Like, why are we putting that in the same thing? This isn't about religion. This is about a government that suppresses its people. Because a lot of the people in Saudi Arabia, I'm sure they're Muslim, but even though they're Muslim, the government still decides to punish them, whether by imprisonment or by death. Imprisonment, torture, death, all the above. Like, I just can't. The other thing that I wanted to touch upon is, like, one of the videos that I have been watching about the situation. It was by, like, another creator who goes by the name of Gonz. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but their video kind of talks about laying out the facts of, like, the buyout, because, well, along with this situation, there's bound to be, like, misinformation and people finding an excuse to be racist and anti-Muslim, which this person, like, kind of goes into the details of, like, the truth of the buyout, which I which I highly appreciated, of trying to set the facts right. But there's like two things that I wanted to comment on about that video. I believe they mentioned about how common this is, with buyouts happening within the industry, and that this is kind of like normal with some aspects of it. And there's like this video that popped up in my feed, and I swear this is when I believe like sometimes the universe is just lending me a helping hand, because this video that I found kind of helped me put into words like the thoughts that I've been feeling on the whole thing. Because like in that video that I mentioned, right, in the beginning it kind of like mentioned how a lot of these private equity firms were buying up all of these companies, and these homes, all these companies, and all these journalist sites, and how they're just kind of like taking over the things that we support and buy into, and kind of like using that to like control what they put out, what they make, what gets sold to whom, things like that.
Almost every aspect of entertainment has sold out to private equity. Take the studio behind this intro. Yeah, there's a reason why we don't see that lion anymore. So MGM Studios owned James Bond, Rocky, massive franchises, but in the 2000s, they started flopping. MGM was drowning in debt and looking for a way out. And so people started circling around MGM. And in 2005, Sony and several private equity firms bought MGM for $5 billion using a leveraged buyout. Like I explained in my previous videos on how private equity is buying up homes and companies, they use this leveraged buyout to make that deal happen. So they put in around $1 to $2 billion in cash, and the rest, the $3 billion, was funded through debt. Which, of course, that debt is loaded onto the company that they acquire, so MGM now held even more debt when they started. After being bought out, 15% of staff were laid off, divisions were folded, all to squeeze short-term savings and make the math on paper look better. But even after cutting costs, MGM was still saddled with debt, and the movies that they were putting out were flopping, so they filed for bankruptcy just 5 years later in 2010. Since then, MGM has been passed around like a blunt from one private equity firm to another, each extracting value until in 2022, Amazon finally swallowed it all up. And soon after, movie theaters like AMC and Cinemark went to private equity, Nielsen, the TV ratings company, to Blackstone and KKR, DreamWorks, Miramax, and even talent agencies like WME, all bought by private equity. And just like MGM, all these companies were gutted by cutting creative staff, which boosted stock prices short term. And the playbook was laid out where private equity firms saw just how much short-term profits that they can make from advisory and management fees, but especially from flipping the studio's media library. Similar to the mortgages in 2008, these libraries could be chopped up and financialized, licensed and resold to streamers like Netflix. But later on, as they saw with MGM, and once fees and value has been fully extracted and squeezed out, years later, a lot of them were also resold or even bankrupted like MGM, and these studios, banks, and bond investors took a hit on that debt.
I really recommend that you watch that video, because I really feel like it has some valuable information. But in the video, it like mentioned how like a lot of studios in Hollywood ended up getting acquired by private equities and stuff like that. But eventually, after a few years, these companies that got bought out got bankrupt, ended up being resold and things like that. And then also with these journalist sites, with the amount of buyouts that were happening in Hollywood, nobody was reporting on it because a lot of these sites were being owned by private equity firms. And it's just something that I feel like should be pointed out, because these types of buyouts are what caused Toys R Us and Joann's to shut down and close. So like the video also says that you know, just because like an acquisition happens doesn't mean it's bad.
Just because private equity invests in something doesn't automatically make it bad. But point is, private equity is expanding into entertainment quickly. And I think a lot of people's frustration comes from feeling powerless, like you and I have just no choice as private equity continues to infiltrate every aspect of American life. Whether it's private equity buying your company and laying people off, or buying entire neighborhoods. But the twist here in this instance is that consumers actually have a weapon with piracy. Think about it. When private equity buys up homes and jacks up rent, you can't do anything. You can't pirate a roof over your head. Moving costs thousands and takes months. So when it comes to housing, you're trapped. But with entertainment, you have options. If Netflix pisses you off, you can cancel with 2 clicks. If they split your favorite show across 5 different apps, you just pirate it instead, which I'm not advocating for.
But I feel like it's something that we have to, you know, be on the lookout for and be aware of. Even if the acquisition goes through, right? There's no guarantee that EA might survive, you know, years after the fact. Like, I believe like the amount of debt that is going to be put on EA is like 20 billion. Yeah, it was 20 billion of debt that EA would end up getting. And do you know how much money that is? You know, if things go wrong, and EA ends up piling on more debt, if things go wrong, this could cause EA to go bankrupt and the games might end up no longer getting support, or might get shut down entirely. So there's no guarantee that EA will survive after this, you know. And even if it does, you know, like I said with the problems before, why should we still be financing and supporting this company, especially now that if the acquisition goes through, it would be owned by people who do not have your best interest in mind and are willing to commit human rights violations to promote their ideals. And I'm like, yeah, like I just, even though it's common, it doesn't mean that, you know, we should be worried. Like I'm still of the opinion that we should, you know, gain more information, like as the situation develops, and come to our own decisions and conclusions about how we want to handle the situation. But I'm still like, you know, with all the information we have now, I still feel like, you know, we should be taking note and speaking out against this and trying to convince, you know, at least try to persuade them not to go through, persuade the people who are controlling this not to proceed with the deal. I mean, if we make enough uproar, I'm sure like change would happen. And that's like something that I also want to, that's the second thing I also want to comment on with Gonz's video. A section in that video, he mentioned how creators who are promoting for a boycott are just making the situation worse.
Creators and players who are calling for a boycott right now are only making the situation worse. Boycotts at this moment would almost certainly contribute to job losses for the very people at EA and Maxis who make these games possible. And now is not the time for that. Once we have clear proof or an official statement about where The Sims is heading, then we can act. But doing it now without facts is acting out of fear and ignorance. And let me be clear, I will never support a company that refuses to let me express or represent myself fully. That's why I cut ties with 𝗟𝗀, and The Sims won't get a pass if it comes to that. For now though, the best thing we can do is stay vigilant, stay informed, and stop giving power to hate and misinformation.
I'm going to heavily disagree on that. Now, more than ever, is a perfect time for everybody to rally together and boycott this game. Like, if EA just being greedy wasn't enough, it's the fact that, one, we've gained information that Saudi Arabia owns 10% of the company already and are willing to own more of the company. That alone should be reason to boycott this game. They mentioned in the video that, boycotting will only cause, layoffs and would only, hurt the developers. And politely, I call bullshit on that. Because we should be voting with our wallets. The game has been in a piss poor state for years. Constant bugs, way too many kits, game packs, expansion packs, no quality assurance with the stuff they release, and it's overpriced. And now with all this information coming out, I really feel like if you do not stand with the LGBTQ plus community in this instance, especially because with how clear the information is, and there's no ifs or ums and nuances like how with J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter, that situation, like compared to that situation, this situation is pretty clear that if you are not standing with the LGBTQ plus community on this one, that you are willing to line these corrupt people, line their pockets with money, you're willing to directly fund them. May I remind y'all once again about the Montgomery bus boycotts that happened during the civil rights movement. Because people were not getting on the buses and paying their fares, it hit the bus transportation directly. It hit them where it hurts, which is their wallets. Now, unfortunately, that would mean that perhaps during this time, some employees got laid off and things like that. But I'm probably gonna sound like an asshole, but that's kind of just how it is, If you guys are really, as I mentioned in my previous video when I was ranting about EA and Nintendo, if you guys are really concerned about the developers and their well-being, and I'm not talking about the executives that make way more than the developers who are actually coding these systems into the game and are not given enough time to really perfect those systems. If you guys are truly concerned about the developers, then encourage them to set up a Patreon or a Ko-Fi or some way, or GoFundMe or some way to help, fund them as they are going through this confusing and anxiety-inducing time. Because I know the developers, the people that are actually coding the systems and are innocent and don't have any control over the situation, that they're innocent. The people who are, not, really giving these people time to really flesh out these systems, time to, code these things, these people, the executives that aren't, actually doing the work, they're the ones at fault. The executives in the Sims 4 team, the executives at EA, they're the ones at fault here. And the people that you should be supporting, as I mentioned in that video, the previous video, it should be those people actually coding the game. And if you're really worried, you should encourage them to set up ways to donate so that they are able to support themselves in the off chance that they get laid off. Now, this kind of just happens when it comes to boycotting a franchise or a game. It happened with I believe it happened with Destiny 2, because I was watching a YouTuber who made Destiny content and then was making content, criticizing and complaining about the game. It's really funny the way that they decided to format their criticisms. But yeah, people got tired of the game, they voted with their wallets, and unfortunately people got laid off. And I'm sure with the bus boycotts, because there wasn't enough funding, people got laid off. And it's going to be the same with anything that you boycott. If you're not giving money to an organization, eventually they're gonna struggle to sustain the event, themselves, and if they're not, getting enough funding, they'll shut down or they'll go bankrupt and stuff like that. I just, like I mentioned in my previous video, I just don't understand why people are just so afraid to like speak out and speak up and boycott. Because in the 1960s and the 1920s, when a lot of these protests and boycotts were happening, people were willing to go to the extremes to get their voices heard. But now people are just cowards. They're not willing to like stand up and stand in solidarity and say that we will stand on business and we will not condone this. We will not allow this to go through any further. Like, people are afraid to do that. Why are we afraid to just boycott something? Like, is that really so concerning? Like, now is the best time to start boycotting. Yes, that might mean that because EA, if we boycott and EA is not getting any money, well, good, because they've not, like, the executives have not been, consumer friendly. They've just been greedy. They're probably not paying their developers enough. They're probably not, giving them enough time to really, perfect these systems and stuff like that. Honestly, it would be kind of a good thing if we show this company that if they're not going to treat their consumers with respect, then we shouldn't be obligated to fund them or give them any money. And it's unfortunate for the developers because they're caught in the crossfire. But like I said before, if people are so worried, we should be encouraging these developers to set up GoFundMes, or we should support these developers in whatever other projects they might create if in the unfortunate event they do get layoffs, because I'm all for, supporting indie games and supporting creative projects, we need more indie games in the space. I'm gonna be honest. And yeah, people calling for a boycott during this situation isn't making the situation worse, because it just shows that people are willing to stand on business. If people are calling for boycotts, that means people are willing to stand on business. And I am all for support for that. Because the Sims 4 community is just littered with toxic positivity and EA sympathizers trying to find every excuse under the sun to defend this game. And people shouldn't be defending this game no longer. It's a billion dollar company, and they're not consumer friendly. They're not really thinking about their player base. It's just how they're willing to like make a profit. And I really feel like that saying that, boycotting it is just making the situation worse. It kind of makes it seem like, that boycotting is bad. Think of the developers and the people. It just gives the same energy of like people. I don't know. I can't put my thoughts into words, but it just leaves an icky feeling in my mouth when that person said that in that video, because now there has never been a better time to boycott EA than now. Like, come on, seriously. But yeah, I'm just completely frustrated about this whole thing and the way people have been handling the situation. I am pretty glad that there are some creators out there that have decided to unlist their Sims 4 videos and declare that they're no longer going to support the Sims 4 and EA. I really think that it's a good thing that people are standing up and saying enough is enough. I've seen people in the comments declaring that they're no longer going to support EA, and I know the creator that I mentioned previously said that they totally understand if people don't want to support EA after this announcement, which they mentioned in their pin, in a pinned comment. But I just wanted to touch upon those two things that they mentioned in the video and share my thoughts on the whole acquisition and the whole boycott opinion that they made, because I really feel like that statement doesn't really help the situation, because now more than ever we should be boycotting the game, and we shouldn't continue to allow these companies, these organizations, and these, you know, governments to take control of the media and the things that we consume and try to control it in the way that they fit, so that it pushes out their ideas and things like that, and try to like make more of a profit off of us. So yeah, if there's more thoughts about the whole situation, I'll probably put it in a comment or put it in edit. But yeah, I'm just tired, man. I'm tired. The Sims 4 community, like, y'all need to do better, and y'all need to boycott. Y'all need to stand together and not tolerate this bullshit. Y'all can't keep defending EA. It's been long enough now. Now this is a sign from the universe saying that y'all need to stand on business. Anyways, I'm gonna go. Please be kind to those you meet. Please don't attack, harass, and witch hunt anybody that I mentioned in this video. Please be nice to each other. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, everyone.